if you have ever seen your team look really good in practice and then fall apart in a match and thought to yourself, is this the same team that I was just coaching last night? Or if you've ever wasted time trying to get your athletes' head back in the game after they make a mistake that now is not just one, but it's two, three, four, and you've got to pull them out, put them on the bench. And now you're spending your energy and your time instead of coaching the match, you are with this player trying to get them back in the game. Or if you have ever seen your team just not play to potential, like you have a team of talented athletes, you know that they are capable, but they're just not doing it, then this training today is for you. We're talking all about how to quickly level up your team's mental game to create a winning edge this season without taking tons of your time or effort. And honestly, and if you're just coming in, I know we have some who have been participating in the boot camp the entire time. And some of you are just popping in for this training. So if I have not met you, I am Coach Bree. I am the co-founder of the Elite Competitor, which is a mental training company for girl athletes. I'm also a longtime head volleyball coach, been coach for the past 14 years. And I, like you, was tired of watching my teams lose games due to mental errors. Prepare well, only to crumble in big moments and then spiral after mistakes. And as a coach, I know you feel this too. We've talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but give me a yes in the chat. And we're going to use the chat a lot today. So keep that open. How many of you feel like you've got a talented team with so much potential, but you're not sure what team is going to show up each night? How many of you have entered into a competition or a match or a race and you're like, I'm not sure. Like if we get the team from a couple days ago that was playing really well, this is going to go great tonight. But if we get the team, from last week, then it's not going to go so well. Yeah, were you watching our team this season? Maybe. Okay. How about this? It's a game of errors, but my athletes struggle to come back after mistakes. So I'm wasting time just trying to get their heads back in the game. Yeah, Caitlin, I hear you. I've said that too. Depends on what team shows up. You're like, how do you think you're gonna do tonight, coach? Depends on what team shows up. Okay, but how about this one? We say this all the time, especially, especially in volleyball. I know that we have all sorts of sports represented, but we say it's a game of errors, but athletes can't seem to get over their errors fast enough. Yeah. How about this? As a coach, the biggest struggle to be successful is the mental side of things. We can coach skill all we want, but there's so much that's a mental shortcoming. Why mistakes are made and drama with teenage girls. Put a yes if that resonates with you. Hopefully it does, because this is actually a quote from a coach that I was talking to the other day. Yeah, absolutely. And then this one, we've talked about this really all week. I want the extra edge that's going to help separate us when it matters. Once you get to the postseason, once you get to this competitions with teams that are of similar talent, it's not going to be the skill that separates you. It's going to be your team's ability to quickly get over a mistake, to meet the moment, to handle the pressure. Those are the things that are going to matter in those moments. Okay. So wanting that extra edge, what is the secret sauce that I can put in? All right. I feel you. Like I've said this whole week, I used to be in the same exact spot. And so now we're in this place of like, well, I have so much on my plate. I'm not just a coach, right? I feel like I'm also, a therapist, and I am a team manager, and I'm a team event coordinator, and I'm also a bus driver, and I'm the team medic. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, we got all of these things. I don't have a lot of extra time, but my athletes need it. Okay. And unfortunately, most coaches believe three harmful myths when it comes to this idea of teaching mental skills. First of all, it's a little probably intimidating because you're like, I'm not a sports psychologist. I don't know how to teach these skills. I'm not even sure if I'm qualified. Okay. I will tell you, and you'll learn as we go throughout this, that you don't need to be a sports psychology major. You don't need to be a mental performance coach. We make it really easy for you. But the first thing though, beyond that, is like, where's the time? I used to think the same thing. But the thing about training the mental game is that you get your time back. Okay. It doesn't take a lot. A little bit goes a long way, and you actually get more time back because you're not wasting your time trying to coach the emotions of the sport because they have the skills. Okay. We'll just get a guest speaker to help motivate them. And I've done this. I have had motivational speakers come in, and and it's been a good experience, but typically it's a one and done thing. Like they're excited for a week and it feels really motivating for a little bit, but then now that $800 is down the drain. Okay. And it's, like I said, it's good for a little blip on the radar, but it's not a consistent thing that will actually give them skills for the long term. Or this one, late night Googling for all the tips and tricks, scrolling TikTok. Maybe that's how you came across me and you're like, okay, I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to try and do that. And I am curious, just as a side note, because I was Googling something the other day as a coach. What was the last thing that you Googled as a coach to try and help your team? Anyone remember? Like, is it how do I get them to, or like, drills to help them finish games faster? Anyone like just put in the chat, like, I was Googling that the other day. But honestly, it doesn't really, oh yeah, Googling for visualizations. It also is a little bit odd if you like haven't been doing any of this and then you're like, hey guys, we're going to do a reset word. So you're going to choose a word. And, that's what I kind of am hearing from some of these coaches on TikTok. They're like, I'm like, how is this going to go with your team if you just like pop in there and are like, hey, we're going to do a reset word now. Piecing together tips and tricks, as you know, is not a comprehensive way to actually train these skills. Okay, these are good. The mental game of serve receive. Oh, interesting. Yeah. A blocking drill, overcoming perfectionism. Yeah. Literally how to get the team that practices to show up mentally in the game. Rob, I love that. Yeah. Literally like, how do I get my team who looks really good in practice to show up mentally? Love it. Yeah. I've been there. And that is exactly why we've created the winning edge method. This is what you're going to learn about today. And this is a solution that I've used to teach the mental game with my high school team, 4-time state champs. We just won our fourth state championship this past fall, and also with thousands of girl athletes inside the elite mental game program. So we have a program that if you were on the behind the scenes yesterday, you heard that over 4,000 families have come through to get results in their mental game in a really simple way. So we're going to break this all down. That has led to comments like this. Actually, Coach Amy is probably live here on the call. You're going to hear from her tomorrow on our panel. But she said, I think your tools and info are our secret sauce. And although I don't want to share it with our competitors, yeah, hey, Amy, I think it's so important to equip coaches and their players to have confidence, right? I attribute our success to the ability to stay calm under pressure. All right. We have Coach Jody, who's like, we did it together as a team, helped us with confidence, anxiety, double guessing. All right, before we dive in, we've got a few quick details to share. So if you're just popping in, welcome. Open up your chat. We'll be using that a lot. And we're probably going to be a little bit longer than our normal training for today, just because we've got some things at the end. So stay until the end. We're going to be talking about Plug and Play, Elite Mental Game for Teams. We have a special pricing discount for bootcamp members and those of you that are here on the training, plus some extra bonuses that we're adding in. And we're giving a free spot away to one coach. Okay. So we're going to, at the end, one more coach is going to get a free spot, but you got to be here live to do that. We also have a fast action bonus for those of you that decide that Plug and Play Elite Mental Game is your next step and you want to continue working with us. When you join today, we are throwing in our Ditch the Drama training bundle. This is a little mini course that you can play for your athletes. You also have, information to help you, how to help your athletes navigate a challenging coach. And raise your hand if you're like, yeah, I probably am a challenging coach. That doesn't mean you're a bad coach. That means that you probably have high standards. That means that, you know what, I see you can really, some of my players would probably say I'm a challenging coach, and that's not bad, right? Like athletes have to learn how to navigate different personalities and coaching styles. And that's what this training teaches them to do. Same thing with rising above teammate drama. So teaching them how to control what's in their control, how to be a good teammate, and also how to navigate teammates that are less than ideal. Yeah. Okay. Kelly and Val and Kimberly, we're all in the same boat there. At the end as well, we're going to do a Q&A, so you are free to ask me anything. Drop your questions in the chat as we go. Christina, the other co-founder, is on. Coach Saylor, one of the coaches in our program, is on as well. And Abby, our operations manager, is on this call. So they're going to be collecting questions as we go, and then I will answer them at the end. All right, let's get into it. I've been a coach for 14 years. I know that barely scratches the surface compared to some of the coaches that have been here. So I've been learning from you as well. But the common thing that I hear from other coaches, and also see myself when it comes to mental training, okay, because mental training was the secret sauce that we started adding into our program about 6 years ago now. Practice is already short enough as it is. How do I do this? I wear so many hats, okay? I can't add another. How do I get my athletes to buy into this? Are they going to think it's dumb? Am I going to look stupid up there? Okay. We'll help you with all this. Okay. And I've had all of these thoughts. I'll show you today how it's possible with these methods. So to start, a couple foundational concepts we all need to understand as coaches. Okay. And I think because you're here, you kind of have an idea of this. This is the elite performance formula. Okay. This is what's required for your team to reach their goals. You need three things. It's like a three-legged stool. We need all three parts of this, all three parts in order for that stool to stand. We need knowledge of the sport, okay? The tactics, the strategies, all the things. Physical training, I'm sure you're nailing it in that category. and your team needs mental training. This is where their confidence lives, how they handle mistakes, how they handle pressure, their belief in themselves. Okay. But it's also like a multiplication problem. So when one of these things increases, we know that our team is going to get closer to its potential, right? So when you intentionally design a practice plan and you are training the physical skills, that is important. And their knowledge of the sport is going to improve and their mental training is going to improve because when athletes get better at their sport, they get more confident, right? And so everything's going to improve. But what happens when you throw a zero into a multiplication problem? Any math teachers in here? Or those of you that have gone past fourth grade math? Yeah. Okay. So when you throw a zero into multiplication problem, mathletes in the house, the whole thing turns to zero. And this is, yeah, thank you, Janice. This is typically what we see, right? We're like training the physical game. We're teaching them a lot about the sport. We're watching film, right? But then we're not spending any time. We're spending 0 minutes on training them how to deal with pressure, how to come back from mistakes, how to believe in themselves, their self-talk. And so at best, your team is going to be like, okay, but at worst, they're not going to reach their potential. They're going to fall apart in those big moments, just like my team did. Okay. And so the power of the mind is so essential. And I want to do this really short activity with you. If you are in a place where you can stand and do this with me, this is a less than 2-minute activity to show you the power of the mind. It's one of the first things that we do with athletes inside Plug and Play Elite Mental Games to get them bought into mental training. Okay. So let's do this together just to kind of demonstrate power of the mind together. Go ahead and stand if you can do that. If you're driving or in your classroom with students, you're just listening to this on the side, that might be weird, but go ahead and stand and put your thumb in front of your face. Okay. I want you to just look at your thumb, look at your nail, maybe give it a little wiggle. And what I want you to do now, don't hurt yourself, stay standing, is you're going to open up as far as you can. And when you can't open anymore, you're just going to stop. So I'm going to open to the first trophy right there. That's as far as I can go this morning. I did not work out this morning. I'm feeling a little stiff. And then put your thumb back in front of your face. Put it down by your side. Okay. You should have kind of a vision in your mind of like how far you could go. All right. We're going to close our eyes. We're going to just visualize just for a second. With your eyes closed, just in your mind, I want you to imagine you're putting your thumb back in front of your face, just like you did. Imagining you're opening up, getting to that spot in your room where you couldn't go any further. Now imagine that you're pushing your thumb just a little bit past, like 2 inches past that point where you couldn't go any further. Now imagine that you're putting your thumb back in front of your face. Imagine you're putting it down by your side and open your eyes. Okay, let's do this together. Thumb out in front of your face. Open up to that first spot where you couldn't go any further. And now open up to that second spot that you visualized. Put your thumb back in front of your face, down by your side. Open your chat. Give me a yes if you were able to go further the second time. Yeah, Kelly. There we go. Janice, Mick, nice job. Justice. Okay, lots of yeses. First of all, good job following directions. Second of all, when I do this with athletes, they're like, did you just do a magic trick on me? Yeah, Steve says magic. And I'm like, no, this is actually mental training because your body had the same capability the first time and the second time. What changed? What you saw and what you told yourself. Because you're coaching athletes who have the potential, who have the talent. You see it. Okay. But what's holding them back? What they're telling themselves. Okay. And the thing about it is that mental skills have to be taught in practice. They're not just picked up along the way. Yeah, Val, even though I've probably done this like hundreds of times and it still works on me. So let's break this all down. How to quickly level up your team's mental game to create a winning edge this season. We're going over 3 things today. Okay. How to help your team bounce back in a snap, pressure proofing your team, and ditching the drama. Okay. Those are like, let's go into this. All right. First one, bouncing back in a snap. How to get your team to shake off mistakes because we know it's a game of errors and the team that can respond fastest wins. Put in the chat. Okay. How long does your sport that you coach allow your athletes to get over a mistake? So, as I mentioned, my main sport that I coach is volleyball. Takes, same with that, like 15 seconds between serves. Okay. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. If you coach, basketball, maybe it's nonstop. If you're a cross country or a track coach, it's like, well, if we're talking between events, there's a long time, but if they're getting off track, like in the middle of their event, they don't have any time. They've got to like get back in it. Okay. But we know, and the problem is that most athletes take longer than that. Okay. They don't get over their mistakes immediately or within 15 seconds. They're mulling them over in their mind for minutes. And then like, because of that, now they don't want to make another mistake. So they're hesitating. They're changing their form a little bit, which we know when you compromise that, you're going to make more mistakes. And now it's like, okay, we're spiraling. I've got to take you out, put somebody else in. Okay. And the other thing about this is that your efforts to try and help them likely aren't working. You're like, well, that's why I'm here. I'm telling them that mistakes are okay. I am normalizing them. I'm telling them to shake it off. I'm telling them next play, but like it doesn't seem to be clicking. Okay. And one of the reasons why is that there's some neuroscience happening. I'm not going to go like too deep into this, but the brain's number one job is to protect us and keep us safe. Physically safe, right? To keep us safe from danger, breathing, all that, but also psychologically safe. We've mentioned that word a few times already this week. And so psychological safety is their sense of belonging, sense of like, am I still accepted here? So when your athlete makes a mistake, okay, you see them hesitate. They hold back. Okay. They mess up. They're afraid to try again. They make one mistake, spirals, and you're wasting your time trying to get their head back in the game. Okay. And you're telling them these things, shake it off, forget the last play, keep swinging. Okay. Eventually, you just have to take them out and give them a break. But what's happening here is that because their amygdala, that part of their brain that senses fear in their environment, is sensing a threat to their psychological safety, now they're fearing like not being liked, letting you down, letting their teammates down, getting benched, looking dumb. And so she is actually sensing a threat to her safety. And when this happens, her sympathetic nervous system kicks in. That's responsible for her fight or flight or freeze or fawn response. And when they're in this state, their body is flooded with too much adrenaline. Like we need some in order to play well, right? But it's like too much. And now you're seeing these scattered thoughts and behaviors, shallow breathing, and her executive functioning is offline. You're like, are you the same player that I just saw in practice yesterday? And more mistakes are going to follow in that moment. Okay. So you see how it's been. Maybe they're spiraling, beating themselves up. The bench isn't always deep. Okay. We don't always have another person who is just as skilled to come in. So imagine if that mistake could just be what it is, just a mistake. All right. They get over it. They're on to the next thing and they're not slumping their shoulders. They're not negatively impacting the energy of the team. Okay. But the thing is, nothing you say to your athlete is going to help her bounce back in that moment or recover quicker. This is kind of where, not to go back to the TikTok, but it has gained some traction, is that I get a lot of coaches saying like, well, I tell them to shake it off, or I tell them it's okay. I tell them next play. The problem is when your athlete is in this state, right? She is like a dysregulated toddler. Like we don't go up. I have one of those. Okay. We don't go up to them when they're like in a fit and say like, hey, just calm down and expect that's going to work. The other thing is that some of you coach sports, and this is true for all sports, where they can't hear you. Like they don't even know what you're saying. Or they're like way far away from you. If you're like coaching golf or like track, they're not even near you. So like they need a personal routine that they can rely on without having to rely on you, and also take some pressure off of yourself for having to be everything for all these players, right? This is a skill that your athletes need to develop for themselves. So how does your team do this? Okay. We're going to go over our bounce back and a snap process. And here's how it works. Number one, mindset shift. Yes, you are not wasting your time, outside of the moment, normalizing mistakes, because one main difference between confident athletes and non-confident athletes and teams is that they have a mindset shift around mistakes in general. Like they're free to take risks because they know they're not going to get punished. They see mistakes as a learning opportunity. So yes, part of that is a mindset shift that happens outside of practice. But number two, knowing their triggers. This is specific to athletes. Okay. We use the way to describe this to athletes is kind of like a traffic light. Green is flow state. They're playing their best. They're not really thinking about too much. Yellow is they get kind of bumped out. And that could be a different trigger for all athletes, right? Maybe it's a bad ref call. Maybe it is a mistake. Maybe it's like a teammate says something that catches them off guard. Maybe a coach yells at them. And, for some athletes, that's no big deal. And it takes something different to trigger them. For other athletes, that's like a big thing that's going to like kind of shift them out of flow state a bit. And then red is they are spiraling. You've got to pull them out. Okay. Now, athletes who are not aware of this, they go from green to red and you have no choice but to pull them out. Right. But athletes, when they learn their triggers and they learn about this process, they can sense when they get to yellow, and then they can use number three, a snapback routine or a failure recovery system to bring them back to green. Okay. Our snapback routine is a combination of a breath to engage their parasympathetic nervous system, a reset word at the top that is custom to them and it's predetermined based on how they want to feel in that moment, as well as their past and previous best playing experiences. So this isn't just a random word that you're throwing out as a coach to be like, hey, try this one, try this one, try this one. No, this is actually workshopped very, very quickly, but it's a word that they connect with. Okay. And then on the exhale, they're doing a reset signal to ground them in the present moment. So some examples that my athletes have used, like adjusting a pony, adjusting a sock. Some of them will walk to the sideline and put their foot on the line. It needs to be something fast, and also needs to be sport specific, because in volleyball, like, we do have 15 seconds, so they have time to do something little. But if you play a sport or coach a sport that doesn't allow for that, just the breath and the reset word is enough to help them. And then when they get the break, they can do some sort of reset signal, because that is a grounding technique. Okay. All of my athletes have their individual snapback routines. I don't know all of their reset words. I don't know all of their signals at all, but we now have a shared common language where I can say, hey, what's your reset word? Use your reset word. Okay. Hey, do your reset signal, so that they are prompted for that and they know what that means. If you want to take it a step further, okay, you can also do a team snapback routine. So it's like a team thing. And that's typically what I hear coaches talking about, is like, I tell my team this. I tell my team next play. Okay, great. That's your team thing. Next play or shake it off or whatever doesn't apply to every single athlete on your team. Like, there's no way it could. And Taylor put in a good point. Coaches have their own snapback routine. I do too, because we get frustrated as a coach, and you need to show up as the coach that you need to be in those moments. And so breath, my reset word is joy. On the exhale, I'm just touching my fingers together. Okay. And it's funny, athletes now are like looking for me to do it. If they're like, oh, she's frustrated, she's doing her snapback routine. Okay, but this process allows them to shake off mistakes in seconds. Okay, confidence doesn't come from never making mistakes. It comes from your team knowing how to handle them. Logan's one of my players. She was on our 2023 state championship team. She says, I found for me personally, my skill is really only as good as my mental training. It's okay if I make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. Okay, imagine how different your team would be if they had a mindset like Logan. Right. And that is something that can be trained, because when they have the skill to help them in those moments, that's what gives them the winning edge. They can move through mistakes faster. Okay. So that is number one, bouncing back in a snap. We're talking now about pressure proofing your team so they can bring their best, right? Get off this like roller coaster of, we'll see what team shows up tonight, because you've probably said this before. We prepared in practice and set goals, but I'm not sure which team will show up tonight. We've said this a lot. So then the competition starts. Inevitably, they start falling apart, right? Like something bad happens, and so as a coach, we're like, okay, I got to pump them up. I'm going to call a timeout. I'm going to be nice coach, then mean coach. I'm going to change the lineup. You're doing everything. You're like pulling out all the stops to try and help them kind of course correct, but nothing really seems to work. And so the game ends. You head to the post game coaches meeting at Applebee's, and you're like, what was that? I've been to one too many of those meetings, right? And you're like, what do we do? Whoa, like, goodness. Okay. And it kind of leaves you feeling helpless. Like you're trying all the things and nothing is working. And then, so you call a team meeting with your team. You're like, well, hey guys, like, we can't do that. Right. Like we've got to be able to perform and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, we agree. And then you're just kind of like hoping that it gets better for the next game. And maybe even have been where I have been, and I start to question myself as a coach in the first place. I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Like, how do I get them to want it as bad as the other team? It's really hard to be the coach that is like constantly motivating, inspiring. I got to motivate them. I got to say the right things. I got to do the right things, right? Like, you're only one person. You got so much stuff, right? So yeah, let's go from that to being hopeful, prepared, assured, so that they can show up when it matters most. Okay. Here's the thing. We're going to go over the high performance game plan, because 90% of the work actually occurs before the competition even starts. Okay. A lot of times we're trying these in-game things, but the foundation hasn't been laid. All right. So outside of competition, we can rely on some key psychological factors to help our athletes play their best. I'm sure you've heard of most of these, so I'm not going to go into too much depth, but neuroplasticity. Okay, right? The brain's ability to form new neural connections throughout life, right? So that's why your athletes can learn new skills. They can learn how to manage their stress. They can actually improve their ability to perform, okay? Cognitive rehearsal. Okay, this is a technique where we mentally rehearse a task, right? So that we can actually put in simple terms, right? You can actually put your athletes in the situation that they're going to be in ahead of time and train their response. And then the Yerkes-Dotson law, okay? This is the principle that states that as performance increases with a level of arousal, we call ours the hype number. Like, how hyped do you need to be on a scale of 1 to 10? If your athlete needs to be at an 8, okay, so like super, that means like they need to be jacked in order to play their best, and they come into competition out of 4, they're not going to play their best. Okay. But also, if they need to be at an 8 and they come in at a 10, they're also not going to play their best. And so knowing like where do athletes need to be? And this is custom to every athlete. So as a coach, how do you leverage these three psychological factors like simply, right? Here are the three vital tools that I use with my team and I teach other teams inside Plug and Play. Okay. A daily mindset routine. Okay. This really leans on, this neuroplasticity, psychological factor. We have a daily mindset routine that takes 5 minutes before practice. We incorporate it into our pre-practice routine. It's called 3-2-1 Brave. Okay. And part of this is it stands for different things. Okay. 3 stands for writing down their 3 affirmations. And these aren't just random affirmations. These are found based on what they want for their season, what they want as an athlete. So they're written in positive, present tense. They write those down. 2 minutes journaling, one thing they're grateful for, one piece of evidence that one of their affirmations is coming true. And then we do a visualization called Brave, which helps them actually see those affirmations come to life. That daily mindset routine is enough for my athletes before practice to get more focused. They're more dialed in. This is actually keeping their thoughts focused on what they want to find and what they want to see rather than, falling prey to the negativity bias that happens and just like figuring, all these other things that are going wrong. Okay. So we use a team daily mindset routine. We also do team scenario planning. Okay. We know what situations typically derail us as a team, and we spend time actually, like not very much time. Visualization is actually best if it's less than about 5 minutes, unless it's a relaxation one, then it can be a little bit longer. But we spend time putting ourselves in those moments ahead of time and training how they're going to respond. I actually let my athletes see themselves failing. I let them see, us being down by a little bit and training how we're going to respond. That paired with practice reps doing the same thing is where the magic happens. Okay. They reduce their like decision-making fatigue. Their brain and body is like, I've already been here. Okay. And then their athlete hype number. I talked about this. Okay. Using the Yerkes-Dodson law. So all my athletes know what their hype number is. Okay. They know we go through a process where they can find it based on like best performances in the past and one other like quick activity that we do. And so they're like, I need to be at a 4 coming in. And these are the 2 things that I need to do in order to get me to the 4. And if they don't do this, then they can feel like they're out of control. If they come in a little bit too hyped, they can feel like they're not ready to play. If they come in underhyped, but they have routines to get them to that number. So it's a lot of awareness. And the good news is that these tools are quick. Okay. We front loaded a little bit at the beginning of the season. So I would say we do, to create their snapback routine that's one 20-minute session that we do in week 1. Okay. To create their hype number, that's another 20-minute session that we do in week 2. Right. And like, once they have it, it's like, okay, we've got this. Their daily mindset routine. We do that, in week 3. So it's very, the foundation is laid and then it's just simple maintenance throughout. Okay. And then the other 10% can happen in competition. So now it's like, I can call a timeout. I can switch lineup without my athletes becoming super dysregulated. They know how to regulate themselves. Okay. And I can coach. I have a shared language with my team. I'll tell you right now in, our state championship this past fall, we were in a situation where like that championship match, the other team was serving for championship point. Okay. So they were serving. This team, I would argue, was more like physically talented than us. They had a stacked front row of seniors who were between the heights of 6'1" and 6'5", all committed to D1 schools. My team had one varsity returner, who, I mean, we can't overlook her. She's amazing. Okay. But we had first year varsity players. We had sophomores that were stepping on a state court for the first time. We were down. This was in the 4th set. So the other team was serving for match point. They hadn't won state in 36 years. Everyone was on their feet in this like big dome. They were ready to take home the trophy. Okay. I called timeout. All right. Came in, and I was like, hey, we're going to take a breath. They know what that means. Everyone say your reset signal. Okay. Or your reset word. Okay. So they said the reset word. Okay. Then, I said a couple other things about what's going to happen here. So I kind of gave him some feed forward information, went out, we got that point. Okay. Now we go back. We've got 2 points to stay alive. Okay. So we tied it up and we're like, okay, we're still in it. Everyone sit down. Your time has not come yet. Okay. My sophomore goes back to serve, and I'm like, oh, here we go. But I'm like, she looks like she's got ice in her veins. Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay. We serve the other team. Like I said, this senior heavy team, it was their year. They set their 6'4" commit. Okay. She hits the ball in the net. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like that doesn't happen often. Doesn't happen often. Okay. All right. Now we're 1 point away from staying alive in this. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Go serve. Their middle. They set their middle. It's kind of a botched play. She free balls it in the net. Okay. And if you're familiar with volleyball, that's like, what? It was the most like clear display of what it looked like in those moments to number one, have a shared language around what it means to meet that moment and what to do in those situations, but also the stark difference from a team that could hold it together and perform well and a team that didn't have the skills. Okay. And so yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel the same way. It's like, it doesn't always end that way, right? Like it doesn't always, like we made plenty of mistakes leading up to that, right? It's like, that's a story for another time. But here's the deal. On the biggest stages, it's like, here it was. Okay. And there was the difference. Okay. So like I said, we won 4 back-to-back state championships, and a lot of my athletes give credit to their strong mental games. I always pull them on the podcast after. They're interviewed by papers after. And yeah, I have talented players, but I'm willing to bet that you do too. Okay. I'm willing to bet that you do too. I've had talented players like, for a lot of years, and we haven't won state. Okay. Because we fell apart in those moments. That sophomore that I said was serving for a game point, the paper interviewed her. Okay. And I had another sophomore who was my outside hitter. The paper interviewed her. And I was like, I did not prompt them at all. I read the paper afterwards, and the reporter was asking, what were you thinking about when you're going back to serve that point? And she said, I was just doing my breath and saying my reset word. And I was like, oh, okay. So when athletes are bought into this and they lean on these skills, this is because if they're not doing those things, what are they likely doing? They're likely saying something like, I hope the ball doesn't come to me. I hope I don't miss this serve. This is a huge moment. I don't want to let anybody down. Okay. And so if they have the skill to direct where they're going to focus their self-talk, this is where it makes a big difference. Okay. But here's the deal. You're a coach. You're not a sports psychologist. And you don't need to be. Training the mental side does not take a lot of time, but it pays off in those moments where it matters most. Okay. You can have a team who shows up consistently, and you can be able to utilize your game plan as a coach. Doesn't mean you're going to win all the time. We did not have a perfect season. Okay. We lost our first match to a team, quote unquote, that we should not have. All right. But it does mean that you are building these skills and you are doing everything in your power to equip them with what they need. That's the other thing. When I was sitting there on the bench, I'm like, hey, second place is not bad for this team. I was kind of going through like my speech. I'm like, you know what? This is a young team. We didn't even expect to get this far. I was kind of going through that. Right. So, but the thing about it is that as a coach, I was like, I did everything I could to prepare them for this moment. Okay. Lauren Dreves, one of my players, she goes, when I first walked into the gym, I was like, what does mental training have to do with volleyball? She goes, now that mental stuff has changed my life. I'm a better teammate. I'm a better player. I can feel the pressure without wanting to crumble. Okay, we're in the third part of this. Third part, we're talking about ditching the drama. We've talked about this a little bit this week, but how to build a cohesive team so that one player doesn't bring down the whole bunch. But let's do a little Starbucks giveaway again. We're just feeling generous. So in the chat right now, go ahead and put in there, let's see here. Let's talk about your team right now. How do you feel like the mental game would make a difference in your team? If you were able to like implement one skill, okay, to see a difference in your team. I feel like I'm not phrasing this correctly, but how would that look? Like, what do you think, what difference could that make for your team? If you're like, for me, we would be the team that instead of losing in that loser out, winner to state match, we would actually show up and win that game. Okay. Yeah. What was it for you? For me, I was like, I would also feel relief as a coach to know like I'm actually doing something to help this side of the game. Yeah. We won 4 medals this year can't win a match. So much division. Yeah. Confidence. We would get past first or second round playoffs. Yeah, I think it would help their confidence and their match competence. Okay, I thought so you were going to say composure. I'm like, composure is a big one too. Mental game is missing. Skyrocket my team tremendously. Yeah, our team is struggling in confidence. Yeah. Okay, I think we get over the hump and help us finish games as strong as we start them. When my key players crumble, everything crumbles. Yeah, Kimberly, that's what we were talking about yesterday with like when your leaders, when they're not composed out there, it's like super hard to be like, yeah, you're saying all the right things, but look at your body language right now. Okay. Yeah. Confidence in the final stretch. Okay. Those are great. Okay, let's see here. Getting over tough situations, the snapback. Yeah, Kelly, I see you. Poor coaching. Yeah, that can be like kind of poor coaching trauma can go through. Yeah, Shane coaches bowling, which is more mental than physical. Absolutely. Same with like golf. I golfed in high school and I was like, it's the same course. Why am I getting a different score? Nothing else has changed except for me, my brain. Yeah, for sure. Okay, Taylor, we're young. It could be the difference maker. Nick, confidence and positive attitude would be contagious. Ooh, yeah, you're onto something there. Okay, let's see. Jesse, your next coffee is on us. Jesse B. Yeah, great conversation in the chat though. Keep those coming. If you have questions as we're going about this, drop them in. We're going to be answering those at the end. Okay, I know what you're thinking right now about this team drama thing. There's always one person. Team bonding only works for a little bit. Okay, playing time will always be an issue. And we've luckily hit on some of these things already this week, but I used to think the same thing. But here's some way that you can actually like reframe some of these thoughts. Okay, team drama typically isn't caused just by one person. We talked about this on the first day that it typically is the person who is a little bit more insecure, but in your full team, it's likely not just one. It is that person being contagious and infecting other people. Okay, but the more confident athletes are in themselves, the less likely they are to pull other people down. Team bonding only works for a little bit. Okay, I hear you there because players need to feel like they belong, and connection and vulnerability are key. We talked about that. It needs to be part of a routine. Okay, simple moments over time. That's how trust is built. Playing time will always be an issue. Well, hopefully with your new impact plan and the roles that you've established in your team and the skill to communicate that to your players, but also the skill that athletes need to develop to communicate with you, to receive feedback, to ask hard questions. That's when you see playing time issues reduce. Now, I'm not saying that's funny, Steve. Yeah. XOXO Gossip Girl. Yeah. I'm not saying that it's not always going to be like remedy it like all the way, but I'll tell you right now, playing time issues greatly reduced when people knew their role and where they fit into the overall piece, and then parents were involved in that too. So, but let's talk about how do you ditch the drama that doesn't sabotage your team. Unfortunately, this is what I often see. Okay, an athlete feels insecure. It usually starts with them. A situation happens, maybe playing time, a comment, or maybe it's a non-sport related thing, like that person is dating my ex-boyfriend, whatever. Okay, they start bad-mouthing each other so that they can feel better. We talked about this. They create a story and then they want other people to agree with them. So they start spreading things around. Okay. And then people hear it and they start to take sides. They're like, well, I'm on this person's side, or I'm on that, or I agree, or I don't agree. And then all of a sudden it's transferring to the court and the team is underperforming, or the field. And now you're like, why is my setter not setting the person that she should be setting? And then they're like, yeah, it's because she's dating her ex-boyfriend. I'm like, what? Okay. And then you call a team meeting to try and fix things. You have the come to Jesus moment, and maybe it gets better for a little bit until something else happens. And then we go down this vicious cycle. So anyone bit in this cycle, or am I the only one? Put a yes in the comments. You're like, yeah, this actually sounds kind of familiar. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's move past that. That's the old way. There is a better way that we can train. Okay. We teach the inside out approach, or, we use the inside out approach. Okay. And this is based again on that foundational need of psychological safety, belonging, and acceptance. So when athletes have more confidence in themselves and they feel like they belong, they're actually going to have better self-esteem. But when it's not there, their self-esteem suffers. They get jealous, they compare. Maybe they don't have, we're dealing with teens and tweens, right? So they don't have a lot of emotional regulation skills. They don't have great communication skills. They don't have great conflict management skills. Absolutely not. Like all these things are being learned right now, and that just equates to a lot of team drama. So we start, like I said, with the inside out approach, meaning that the first piece of this is their individual confidence. So when they are more confident in themselves, no matter what their role on the team is, they can overcome mistakes, they trust themselves, they have good neutral or positive self-talk, they have some emotional awareness, they're more confident in themselves, which means that they're going to sabotage the team less. Okay. Because hurt people, and the opposite is true as well. But it's an individual journey that you can help facilitate. Okay. That's one thing that we hit on in Plug and Play Elite Mental Games. Now, the second piece of this ring is connection with their team. Okay. We're working on this week. So fostering this collaborative support inside your culture. Okay. Emphasizing team goals, building that connection between your players in small moments, creating a space for vulnerability and trust building. Okay. That is not accomplished through one-off team workshops or inspirational speakers. Okay. But instead from consistent open dialogue. So the open circle method is one that will hit this. Okay. Also doing mental training together. When we do plug and play together, that's also an opportunity for them to get into a circle and talk. Sometimes we do that instead of some of the other questions that we talked about this week. It's like, hey, we're just answering this question over, what triggers you to get out of flow state and what's your reset word? Like that is vulnerable sharing. Okay. And then the last piece is teaching them communication skills, right? So, how to give and receive feedback, how to ask hard questions, how to advocate for themselves, how to talk about playing time concerns. And you as a coach being open and building in those check-ins throughout your season so that you can head some of these things off, which greatly reduces drama. Okay. Team drama doesn't have to be an issue. And also, I know it's tough, and a lot of it depends on like player personalities as well, but you can also do your part as a coach to, develop that internal confidence, to give them communication skills, to incorporate open sharing and vulnerability and having those courageous conversations. That's right, Carlton. Now Macy's one of my athletes as well. She says what set our team apart was our chemistry. Okay, that was super important. No matter how the game went, we always had each other's back. Okay, we could get out of ruts. Other teams would bicker and fall down or go down, but we would get in a rut. We had the skills and we had leaders who were bringing us back. Okay, all right, we've gone over the 3 parts of this method. My question for you now in the chat is, when was the last time you saw your team consistently performing at their best without their mindset holding them back, without being on the roller coaster, without being like, oh my gosh. Okay. Was it last week, last month, last year, Janice? Or is like, I can't really remember actually when we were doing a good job of that. Yeah. Last fall. Okay. Yeah. I can't remember. Yeah. Or maybe you can be like, there was that one match, there was that one competition, where my bowling athlete like had a phenomenal game. And then all of a sudden she like, the next one was not. And a lot of that comes from the pressure of like, the fear of success too is a thing. Yeah, each athlete has their own moment. I like that. I like that, Holly. That's so true. Right? But can we get this together? So, yeah, I mean, let's be honest about where you might be with your team right now. So, I want you to answer in the chat a 1, 2, or 3, because most coaches that I work with are experiencing one of these 3 scenarios, right? The not so fun roller coaster ride. One game they dominate, the next one they fall apart, single mistake snowballs. Some days they're on their game, other days they're not. Okay, number 2, the play it safe problem. This is more of like a confidence thing. You've got talented players, but they don't believe in themselves. Okay, they do start to spiral, and you're kind of tired of telling them to stop, like just be confident. You're like, if only they believed in themselves as much as I believe in them. Okay, or 3, the competitive edge gap. Right, you know that they're talented, but they're struggling to perform when it matters most. Kind of crumbling, losing leads. They lack kind of that resilience. Kimberly says 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, yeah, or maybe it's all of them. Jesse, I see you. So you could have the full meal unhappy deal. Okay. Yeah, truthfully, all 3. I hear you. And I'll be honest, like they do kind of they impact each other, right? Okay. That is exactly why I am excited to talk about the plug and play elite mental game. I've been talking about this all week because this is our signature mental training program for teams. And it's a step-by-step solution for you as a coach to teach mental skills in your program in a way that does not take a lot of time, because we don't have a lot of time. Okay. So I'm going to break down the plug and play elite mental game for teams, what's included in this program, how it works, and also the discount that I have right now for those of you who are in our boot camp or on our training, and some bonuses that we've added in. Okay. So how to use plug and play with your team. Okay. The first thing that your team does when they are implementing our mental training system, and by the way, it's super simple. You literally just get your team together, play a short video from me, from them, or to them, and then you lead a discussion. So I'll go into more of the logistics, but the first thing that they learn is their snapback routine, the custom routine to help them get over mistakes quickly. I intentionally front load this skill because it's the easiest one for them to learn, and it's the easiest one for them to see success early. Then you implement the rest of the core performance mental training system. So I'll talk about what that includes. Plus the Raising Elite Competitors resource kit for parents. Okay. So we also loop the parent in a little bit because I mean, this is a whole nother conversation, but you and I both know, like, you can teach mental skills and you can like be the most encouraging coach, and then they go home and like hear something different, or, the parent is like, why are you not playing? And what coach doesn't know what they're talking about. And then like, it all goes away. So we also give you resources to give your parents as well, because we know that's so important. Okay. So quick win right away with snapback routines. Okay. So they start this bounce back in a snap process. This is custom to them. So you don't have to be the one trying to like yell motivation from the sidelines and like trying to get them all inspired. Like, yeah, still do that, but they have a reset routine and a snapback routine that is custom to them. You can also develop one as a team. And athletes love the snapback routine. Like I said, we've had over 4,000 athletes come through our program. First thing they use is their snapback, and they're saying things like this. Okay. My takeaway is that mistakes are okay. I don't get as mad at myself. Okay. Coach Bree, I watched a bunch of the lessons before practice. I can't even explain how much the snapback helped me at practice. What a relief that you're like, my athletes have this skill. I don't have to like constantly be trying to get them back in the game. Okay. The rest of the core performance system looks like this. It includes the snapback routine, confidence and performance accelerators. So just like Olympians and pro athletes use, these are the skills that are rooted in sports psychology, but they are distilled into a really easy to consume way for middle school and high school athletes. Specifically, high school athletes is really our target demographic, where this program is implemented. But your athletes, like I, yes, had access to a sports psychologist in college, but your athletes do not, like most of them aren't going to go play in college. And these skills are accessible to high schoolers. And so that is why we package them in a way that they can access them. Their high performance game plan. So that's what I was talking about with like their hype number. So they have a pre-performance plan to get there. They have a post-competition routine. Their mental edge toolkit. So all things on how to overcome perfectionism. I think I saw somebody Googling for that in the chat. Comparison, setbacks, disappointments, leadership. That's all in there. And then you get access to our visualization vault. So all of our guided visualizations, we've got 13 of them in there. Some of the ones that you've been doing this week, breathwork techniques as well. You have access to all of that. And that is how you create a mentally strong team with a winning edge this season. And athletes really do love these trainings. So we have athletes that are like, my favorite part was listening to Coach Bree talk, her tips. I did not pay this athlete to say this, but they're engaging. It's not like a boring sit and get lecture. And they're short. Like these videos are between 3. Some of them are like, I think the longest one is about 18 minutes, but they're very short to implement. And they have a skill that they walk away with that you're implementing into practice right away. Okay, the last piece of this, like I said, the Raising Elite Competitors resource for your parents. So when you are in Plug and Play, there's a section where you have an email template for that to just send off to your parents. And included in that is like, hey, we're doing mental training with our team this year. And by the way, this is such a value add to your program. Parents love it when they hear that like you are actually holistically coaching their athlete. Okay. But we give them access to our parent training, which tells them basically how to be a good sports parent, how to not ruin their kid's sports journey, what to say and not say before, during, and after games, including this cheat sheet. Okay. So they literally like take it to the game and they're like, here's what to say, here's what to not say. Okay. And we also have a podcast for parents. So we direct them there as well. And so that your parents are reinforcing the skills that athletes are learning and not undoing them. Okay. So at this point, most question that I get is like, okay, this is great, but like, how does this actually work? How do I do this with my team? It's very simple. Okay. You can follow our 30-minute a week training plan. We have it all built out for you. What I recommend is that you look at your season schedule. You could also do this out of season. I'm doing it out of season right now, but you can look at your season schedule and you're like, okay, I've got 14 weeks. These are where I'm going to plug in the trainings, carve out. At the beginning of the season, I usually do 20 to 30 minutes at the beginning of the season, one day a week. You gather your team either in a classroom or wherever they can see. Okay. And you play the short video. Okay. It's very short, very simple. You then use the coach facilitation guide to lead a short discussion. Very simple. I want to make it as little prep on you. I was a teacher for 10 years, so I get curriculum. I get like how to make this simple when we don't have a lot of time. So I also put these discussion questions like on the video themselves. And then athletes use their skills that they just learned in practice and in competition. They have a little challenge that they've got to go do the thing in their practice and in their competition. Okay. This is also team bonding. You are hitting that open circle method, like checkbox when your team is doing this because they're doing mental training together, right? So they're learning the skill. And then when they have to talk either in a circle or in a small group about, the mental side of the game in a way that is very relatable, they're also bonding with each other and performing their best. Okay, I'm going to give you an overview of exactly everything that's included. Then I'll talk about the pricing discount, answer questions, and we're also giving away a free spot for this. Okay, so here's everything that's included. The core performance system, the Raising Elite Competitors resource kit for your parents, Okay. The normal retail investment is $797. This is a year license. So you have access for a year and then auto renews if you want to continue to have access. But as a sincere thank you for being with us this week. And again, I know how valuable your time is, and I know what type of coach you are for carving out time to be here. We did put together a special pricing opportunity that I'm going to share with you in a second. But first, let me show you just this investment. Let's put it into perspective. Okay. Elite mental game and everything that it includes for your team. For my team, my typical like program development expenses or like discretionary money that I have, like, we could bring in a motivational speaker. The last one that I brought in was 2 years ago and they cost $800. Okay. We could do ropes course, escape room, etc. $1,000 or more depending on how many athletes you're bringing. I have 36 to 48 in my program. Team book study. Okay. Yeah. Like athletes actually don't really like that. But another warm-up jacket. We're like, okay, sure. Let's get some new gear. Okay. At least $1,200 depending on how many people you're buying for. And those are a lot of one and done things. Okay. It's like we do it. It's fun. Like I'm not saying that you necessarily shouldn't, but it's fun, but it's typically a one and done and move on. Plug and play elite mental game is not a one and done thing. Okay. It gives tools that they can use all season long. It's not a temporary fix, right? It also provides a repeatable framework that you can use in your program season after season. And now it can become the secret sauce in your program. Okay. And it provides tools your athletes can use right away. It's literally, they learn the snapback routine, 20 minutes, and they've got that routine that you can now be practicing and have that shared common language. Okay. But more importantly, what's the cost of waiting to build these skills in your athletes? Because how many competitions do you have in a season? We've got about 24. Okay. How many practices will you be coaching? When you do that math, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm practicing. There's a lot of practices. How many playoff games, semifinal games, championship games are coming up? And can you afford to coach these games without your athletes having these skills? Because every practice, every game, every moment is this opportunity. Okay. This is the program that builds that confidence in a very simple way so that you can finally be strengthening the most important part. They say sports are 90% mental, training their mindset. Okay. And I know I'm asking, we're like talking about this, like, oh, this is a great, awesome opportunity. But I also know that you're serious about your team or you would not be here. And I want you to be able to say yes. And I want your team to be able to experience this as well. And so our special pricing opportunity that we have for boot camp members and for people who are here on the live training is a $300 discount to bring that cost down to $497. And we're running this discount until Monday. Okay. So coachhergame.com/join EMG is where you go. You have to use that special link in order to get that pricing discount on the program. Okay. But I do have a few cool things to share because we put together some awesome bonuses for those of you that joined during the special enrollment period until Mondays. But when you join, you get 3 additional bonuses. Okay. Bonus number 1, anyone here put a yes in the chat if you are familiar with JP Nurbin and his work. JP Nurbin is he kind of focuses on the culture of sports. Yeah. Some of you maybe listen to his podcast. We've been on his podcast a few times. We have a partnership with JP and he has a little bonus course inside our plug and play program. And so he's talking about the foundations of coaching and culture in sports. So he's created, and I've used his culture system. And so he is teaching that inside plug and play. So he created a special program for us for coaches inside plug and play. Anyone familiar with Betsy Butterick? Okay. Betsy Butterick is phenomenal. She is a communication specialist working with today's teen athletes. Lately her work has been centered around Gen Z and connecting with the Gen Z athlete. And so she also created a bonus resource for you inside Plug and Play for a coach on how to effectively communicate with the Gen Z athlete. Yeah, we love her. And then bonus number 3. That's me. Okay. We have created a championship culture bundle. And we'll talk about what that includes in a second. But basically, we have bundled together some of the resources that we've been talking about this week and put them into a very easy to use template for you. So I'll cover those. Already talked about JP Nurbin a little bit, but his bonus in there is awesome. All about creating a foundation of culture, like really strong culture in your team with Betsy Butterick, right? How to avoid like unintentionally kind of falling into the pitfalls that come with like communicating with Gen Z athletes, what to say and do when you disagree with an athlete, like just very practical tools. Okay. And this championship culture bundle that we actually put together just for boot camp members includes playbooks to help you. All right. So we got the leadership core playbook. Okay. We went over the leadership core yesterday. This gives you a playbook on like templates on the application process that you can grab from there. It has a meeting agenda for your leadership core. It has example leadership core roles in there. So it's all just like you can basically it's swipe files that you can grab all of my templates. The open circle method, same thing. You can grab the agendas for roses and thorns, hero hardship highlight, question of the day. I think we have in there 30 example question of the days. The role clarity blueprint. Okay. So this gives you also the impact plan template. You also get my exact Google form that I send out at the beginning of the season. At the end of the season, you get my exact Google form. My athlete level up off season plan template is in there as well. And then the parent volunteer playbook. Okay. This is like, you got so much on your plate. One of the main things that really helped me stay in coaching was like utilizing my parents. And so this gives a playbook on how you can actually just like hand this to a parent volunteer, and it gives you like all of the example parent roles that need to be filled on your team. So like fundraising, how to run a kids clinic, how to do like team dinners, like all of those things that you need people to do in your program, because if you do it all, you will burn out. That playbook is there for you to hand to like your team mom. Okay. So let's look at everything that's included including the bonuses. So the core performance system, so the mental training system that over 4,000 athletes have used to increase their mental game. The Raising Elite Competitors resource kit for your parents. Bonus number 1 with JP. Bonus number 2 with Betsy. Bonus number 3, that championship culture bundle for me for $497. And I said that this is a year license. When you join with this $497 price, your yearly renewal also locks in at that lower price. So it doesn't go up to our standard price. Okay, we're about to get to some questions. But before we do, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you right now as a coach? If you're like, 1 being this is not what my team needs right now, or 10, like, yes, this sounds exactly what my team needs and exactly what I need as a coach. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of 10s. Honestly, I wish oh, Amy, thank you. Amy is one of our plug and play coaches. She says this program is one of the most valuable purchases we made in my career. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you, Amy. And honestly, I wish this is what I would have had as a coach earlier. Just to have like simple curriculum that's laid out for me. Like I do not have time to piece it all together. Okay. If you're like, yeah, this is what we need, but this is holding me back, let me know in the chat what that might be, because we will also be capturing those and answering some of that at the end. So any questions, or if you're like, yeah, I would, but here's the thing that's going on. Okay. But we also have a 7-day money back guarantee. So you join and you like check out the curriculum, or if you're in a place where you can try it with your team, okay, great. You can join risk-free and then get a full refund as well. Okay. No fine print, no complicated process. If you're like, oh yeah, it's just not going to work, just let us know. Okay. We've never had to actually like, no one's ever done that, but we have it there in case you need some peace of mind. Okay. And for everyone that is ready to get started, let me walk you through what it looks like. So when you go to that clickable link that Abby put in the, Steve, I see you at 11, that she put in the chat. This is the page that you'll come to. You're going to check out. You have to use that link in order to get the discounted price. Okay. I don't want you to pay $300 more than you need to. Okay. Once you enroll, you will get a login. The license is good for you and 2 other coaches. License is good for 3 coaches. So you could give access to other coaches in your program. Some athletic departments like to give access to you get the basketball team, the volleyball team, the softball team, whatever. Okay. But you get 3 coaches. If you want more than that, we have a simple, I meant to look this up. I think it's $50 extra a coach to get access in the portal. Okay. This is what the portal looks like. Okay. So you go in, you have plug and play elite mental game for teams. This is what the training phases look like. In the warm-up, this is for athletes, but you actually have like a little coach section, helps you plan out like, here's where I'm going to do the trainings. Here's where all the bonuses are with JP and Betsy and, all of those things that make you a better coach. But it also gives you just kind of a lay of the land of how this all works and all the phases that you'll go through. Here's an example lesson that you'll show to your athletes. So this is the first lesson in the snapback routine. This one is 6 minutes long. Okay. And then you have either a facilitation guide, or if you scroll down a little bit down here, there's just a discussion question. And it's literally like, what is your reset word? Share your reset word in your group. Okay. So we make it super simple because I know you don't have a whole lot of time. Okay. I do have one more thing to share. Last thing before Q&A. Okay. Put a ready in the chat if you're like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm tired of Googling. I'm tired of like spiraling. Yeah, I see you. Definitely out of 10. Yeah. Ready. Okay, same. You're like, I was ready like 3 seasons ago. Okay, for those that decide to join the program today. So if you're like, yep, we're ready, we can jump in today. I do have a fast action bonus. This is the Ditch the Drama training bundle that I was talking about. And this is a really like short extra training that you can be showing to your team on how to navigate a challenging coach, i.e., maybe yourself, and also how to rise above teammate drama. So for those that decide that you're going to join Plug and Play Elite Mental Game today, we'll keep this open for the rest of the day. We're also throwing in this little mini training for you. Yeah. Okay, let's get a total look at this. Okay. How do we join? Abby, will you put the clickable link in the chat real quick again? So again, this is everything that's included inside Plug and Play. You got the core performance system. So you've got that curriculum that's very easy to implement. You don't, curriculum's not the right word because I was a teacher and I'm like, okay, curriculum I have to learn and then regurgitate. No, this is literally like plug and play. Okay. You got the resource kit for your parents. You have the bonuses with JP, Betsy, the playbooks from me. Okay. And you might be thinking this is great, but I'm not sure I have time. Okay. I totally get this, but also a little bit goes a long way when it comes to mental training. Okay. If you carve out, like we used to call it Mindset Mondays, and so athletes knew like, hey, 20 minutes, we're going to do Mindset Monday. And this is what we're going to do. That is enough to make a difference. 5 minutes, 3, 2, 1 brave. Once your team learns 3, 2, 1 brave, sometimes all I have time for in a week is doing the 5-minute 3, 2, 1 brave at the beginning of practice, and then maybe a visualization before a game. Sometimes that's just how the week goes, but that is better than nothing. Okay. Because right now your athletes don't have any skills and they're going all over the place. Okay. So yes. Yeah, Kelly, great question. If you need to use a PO, which could take a couple days, just email us. Okay. We do accept purchase orders and we totally understand the process for that. So just email us and we'll make sure you get the bonuses and the fast action bonus if you need to pay with a PO. Nicole, we don't have a monthly option right now. Email us if that is your, email us and we can maybe work something out. But right now we don't have that as a standard option. Okay, what if my team isn't into mental training? Like, how do you get them bought in? I take care of a lot of the buy-in in the warm-up section. So I have them, off the bat, I am sharing what mental training is about. We have a little script in there for you to introduce it for the first time. So if you're worried about that, you can use that script. But then also I take care of a lot of it. Like I'm the one, I'm the expert. I can, I'm the one on the video screen talking about it and getting them engaged. Okay. And also I would say even this has been like a staple in our program for 6 years. I still only have probably, I think I said yesterday, 85 to 90% that are in it. And then there's still always that 10 to 15% that aren't. And I just don't focus on them. And I don't know if that's bad, but I'm just going to focus on the ones that are in it and doing it and, getting things out of it. And if you're not like that's kind of on you. Okay. Todd, license is good for 3 coaches. How many players? Unlimited players because you are facilitating this in a group setting. So they don't have individual portal access. Only you and your coaches do. So yeah, unlimited players. Okay. Do I do this in the off season or during the season? Okay. What if I only have a few more weeks? I think I saw that in the questions. You can do it off season or in season. I'm doing it in the off season right now. It's a little more loose in the off season because players are also doing a bunch of other things. But some of you have the luxury of having like a class period with your athletes. Like, I don't even know what that is, but this would be perfect to like plug in there. I like to do it in season because it's just very structured and they have opportunities to apply it to. If you only have a few more weeks left in the season, honestly, I've had teams join right as they're heading into playoffs because that's giving them their little extra mental edge that they need. You won't get through the whole program, but you could teach them like the snapback routine, which would be very helpful. You can teach them their pre-performance routine. We have a postseason prep section in there. So like there are things in there that will help you even if you only have a few more seasons, and then you'll be ready to go for next season. Okay. When you secure, this is everything, right? Full access, all of the bonuses, the fast action training bundle, the plug and play guarantee, the $300 special enrollment pricing. We've got the link in there for you to check it out. And yeah, Kimberly, my exact impact plan is in there. You can swipe that. I also have my exact Google form templates, like, so you can click on them and it just prompts you to make a copy and you have those. So yeah, you have everything that I give athletes is in those bonus playbooks. Okay, you're probably at a decision point right here. So you're like, we can join, save the money, give access to my team, or maybe you're like, I'm preparing for next season. This is going to be awesome. Okay, wait until later, potentially pay, the full price, miss a fast action bonus, let another season kind of go by, or you can like keep going to TikTok and trying to figure it out and like piece things together, which again, you could do, but it just, for me personally, when it comes to things like this, I don't know if you're like me, but I pay for my time. I'm like, I am a mom. I've got 2 kids. My husband is also a coach. Like although coaching consumes my whole life, like I need more balance. And so I will pay for speed. I'm like, just tell me the roadmap, give me the thing, and like I'm going to save time, and which also saves me money. Okay. Yeah, the choice is yours, but I've just seen way too many coaches regret waiting and come back and be like, yeah, that would have been helpful in that game for them to have some skills. Okay. Yeah, Justice, great question. Is there a package that we can refer parents and players to for coaching? Yes. So when you email your parents the like information about this that you're doing with your team, in there are links to our parent resources. So there's some for free, but then if they want to go deeper, we do have paid parent resources and a paid community for parents as well. So okay. These are just some screenshots. I mean, from athletes, like athletes will thank you. Like if not now, later. Like I think I read this. Rob was asking me, like, what do you like most about the program? And I was like, I just got a text from one of my athletes this week. She's playing on her club team. Um, just out of the blue, she goes, "Hey, Coach Bree, when I play and I'm jumping to hit the ball, volleyball, I've stopped thinking about all the things that I could mess up on and do wrong. And I've started thinking about what could go right and what I need to do to be successful." I'm telling you this because it's probably a subconscious thing. And the only thing I've changed would have been, or that has affected my subconscious, is watching your EMG videos and visualizations, along with making the list of what your dream athlete looks like. That's one of the first lessons that they do in EMG. So just wanted to let you know and thank you for the program and all you do to make sure your athletes' mental games are at their peak. So your athlete might not text you that, but they will be appreciative that they now finally have these skills. And that really is what makes it all worth it. Okay. Yeah, and we ask athletes all the time, where are you seeing a shift? And they're like, I'm handling mistakes better. I'm handling coaching better. I'm keeping energy up. Right. So let's get to questions. We've already kind of answered that. There's a timer on here, but don't worry about the timer. Like I'll be here on as long as we have questions, either about the program or anything that we've talked about this week. I'm here for it. So let's see here. I'm going to open up our Q&A doc. And then after I'm done with questions, I'm going to give away the free spot for EMG. Okay. Let me switch. Okay, I'm in the wrong Google Doc. Here we go. Okay. What age is this best for? Because I coach middle school athletes. Um, yeah, typically, high school like how we typically see coaches using the program is for high school athletes. Middle school would be applicable too. For sure. Like we have middle schoolers come through our program all the time. The only you might notice some hesitation in my voice is that like it just depends. Do you have a way to show them the trainings? You know, do you have a classroom? Do you have all of that? Typically with like our high school programs, they have all of those resources. So if you have at the middle school level, like, and you have the time too, like you've got 20 minutes in your season, then absolutely. And again, a little bit goes a long way. You don't have to do like the entire full thing. I would say phases 1, 2, and 3 are the most important that you can do. 4 and 5 are like extras. And then there's a lot of extra bonus things in there. There's like a nutrition workshop in there as well that I didn't talk about. So there's a lot of extra bonuses that like you can show your athletes if you're like, hey, we've got some time, or we're like in the hotel room and whatever. But phases 1, 2, and 3 are really like the essential ones. Okay. As a club director and head coach who has been on the searching for a mental strength game and finding this opportunity, and Coach Bree has already been game changer. Oh, for me as a coach. And now, and how this option, oh gosh, it's moving divided by 3. So 165%. Yeah. I mean, Jen, it really is. We're hoping to make it accessible. I know some of you are like, yeah, maybe that's in the budget or not. Like, I know some of you are dealing with all different things and like ways to pay for things with boosters and all, as a coach, like I get it. But yeah, this really is a good investment for the price that we're offering this. Okay, if you have a large group, do you usually break it into smaller groups or do you stay as one large group? Holly, that's a great question. So I've done it both ways. Like I said, coach between 36 and 48 athletes, so it's about 3 to 4 teams. I've done it full group, and then we break off into our teams to answer the questions. And then I've also done it like just with my varsity team. There's pros and cons to both. The full group, like you're gonna get sometimes less attention, right? That's just like the fact of the matter. But I like breaking off by team. That makes it way more intentional. And then you're also sure to make sure that all your athletes are getting the same information. But the other way that I've done it is you can just do it with your varsity team, and then your JV coach can do it with their team, and then C team with their team. So, you can have them do them individually. P.S. I'm not a paid actor. Thanks, Jen. Okay. If you add to the program in the future, is that included in the renewals? Good question, Kimberly. Yes, it is. And in fact, we have added to the program. Since I'll give you the backstory. So we founded our company about 6 years ago now, and we started with our flagship program for girl athletes. So it's an online program that girl athletes go through. They get their like individual portal access, and then their parents also get access to our parent side. And that is a much higher investment program because it gets like, they get individual coaching and all of this. But we got so many coaches. We're like, I need this for my team. I need this for my team. So 3 years ago, we created a team program. We created what is now Plug and Play, a lead mental game for teams, so that you can easily incorporate this into your program in a plug and play way, and you don't have to become a mental performance coach or all the things. So we definitely have added to the program. We also take in your feedback. So we had a coach recently was like, hey, can you add in like some tryout prep or an off-season training plan? Because I'm trying to do this in off season. And I'm like, yeah. So we put it in an off-season training plan. So yeah, for sure. And you lock in your renewal price. So the $497, you lock in that price from year to year if you want to renew year after year. Can you go over the snapback routine steps again? Yeah, our snapback routine. So in the program, like in Plug and Play, your athletes will sit down and they will be developing their custom routine. So the snapback in itself is a breath, a reset word, and a reset signal. Okay, so those three things. But it only works if that's custom to your athletes. Telling your athletes, breathe, say a word like joy, and adjust your ponytail, like, is not going to connect with them because they're like, why am I doing this? And so they sit down and they workshop, like, how do you find your reset word? Okay. And it's based on past playing experiences and also how they want to feel in the moment. They visualize themselves using the snapback routine. They come up with a signal, they practice it. Like, it's actually something that is an intentional way to incorporate it. Okay. With the yearly license, can you go back and rewatch or review things? Yeah, absolutely. You have unlimited access to the content as long as you're active. Yeah. Oh, Rob, you just joined. I can't wait to have you to continue to work with you inside the program. That's awesome. Okay, our practices are competitive cauldrons. I do a competitive cauldron also, Todd. Players understand that they earn playing time through performance in practice, and they stay in the lineup with performance in games. I've seen this lead to confidence issues and fear of failure. What piece of this program will best assist with that? Great question. Yeah, competitive cauldrons can be tricky because it naturally ranks athletes, and that naturally can lend to getting their feelings hurt and all of that. So you really have to. It's also in like how you present the competitive cauldron, and that it's like, this number is not associated with your identity, and this is just a snapshot of where you are now. We wipe it every week, like, so there's that. But then also I would say the part of the program that probably addresses this most is in phase 2. That is where we really get into the core of like what confidence is, because a lot of times athletes, especially girl athletes, although it's not only limited to girl athletes, associate their worth with their performance, with their standing in the cauldron, all of that. And so that's where they really learn like what the core of confidence is. And it's not it's who you are, not what you do. Okay. So there's that piece of it. But then also when they learn their daily mindset routine, they come up with their 3 affirmations. And these are not just like 3 affirmations where you like stand in the mirror and say like, I am smart, I am beautiful, I am confident. No, these are like found through a process where they come up, like what Kiara was texting me, come up with the athlete that they want to be, how they want to affect their teammates, what they want their court presence to be, specific things that they're focusing on in their skill. And then those affirmations are turned into visualizations that they visualize every day in their 3-2-1 brave. And again, this is a simple mindset routine. It sounds complicated, maybe, I don't know, but it's not. Okay. And so just them having that focus of what they're narrowed in on and having the ability to also shift some of their self-talk. We talked about that, I think 2 days ago, when they have that negative thought of like, oh, I'm not good enough, or she's, whatever thoughts come into mind with that, having the ability to be aware that that is not a productive thought and shift it. So that also happens in phase 2. So kind of like the foundations of mental training. All right. See you later, Rob. See you at the visualization. Okay. Do we have any other questions? I'm going to make sure I'm going to check the doc. Hopefully I'm looking in the right spot. Oh yeah, can you summarize the fast action bundle again? So the fast action bundle, that is for those of you it's right here that join today. So when you join today, and again, if you're like, oh, got to get a purchase order, just email us. Okay, we're people, we understand. But for those of you that join today, we're throwing in this teammate drama and challenging coaches training bundle. So this is like a bonus little training module that you can show your athletes around how to deal with a challenging coach. This might be the only one that I recommend maybe you put on and leave the room. I'm not sure. The rest of them I want you to be in the room. And then also how to rise above teammate drama. So kind of how to deal with negative players and how to positively impact the energy of your team. So you get that when you join today. Okay, make sure I got all of this. I mean, I kind of answered this question, but I want to answer it more specifically. Our season is almost over. We only do winter season. Would it make sense to do it now or prior to the new start year? Um, it's kind of up to you. I decided to do a little bit of it in the off season this year. Um, it depends on also how often you have access to your athletes. So if like we do open gyms 2 times a month, so that's enough for me to be like, hey, we can spend a little bit open gym doing this. Um, Otherwise, I would just suggest you do it when the season starts. Yeah. But if you have access to your athletes, sometimes they're like, we have study hall, every day. And I'm like, oh, well, great. This is like perfect for that. Okay. I think I have all the questions, but keep those coming in if you have any more. Let's pick our winner. If you are still here on live, and also if you purchased and we like pick your name, we will refund you. Don't worry. Go ahead and drop in the chat your biggest aha from today's training. That will enter your name into the hat for a free spot inside Plug and Play Elite Mental Game for teams. So if you're still here on live, go ahead and do that. We'll give you a couple of minutes and then we'll draw our winner for that. As you do that, I will give you some reminders. We have our visualization at 12 Pacific today. Okay, you can't ever, there's always one person who does that. You can't just put aha. You got to put what your aha is. Okay. What's the best email for getting the PO? Kelly, hello@elitecompetitor.com or wherever you're getting our reminders. But let me put it in the chat. Yeah. Okay. Sailor's got it. So we'll have our visualization. Tomorrow, we are hopping on for a coaches panel and more Q&A if you have it. So I'm bringing on Amy, we talked about, she's done plug and play with her team. And then I'm bringing on another coach who has also done plug and play. And they're going to share their experience with using the program. So like literally, how did it go? What were the useful things? All of that. And you can ask them questions because sometimes it's just better to hear from like somebody who's actually done it. So we're going to do that training tomorrow at our normal time. So 9 Pacific, 11 Central, 12 Eastern. And then Monday is your last day to grab the discounted price on Plug and Play. And we're going to wrap up with a celebration call. So that one's a little bit later in the day on Monday. I think it's at 12 Pacific. So, okay, these are great ahas. Keep those coming. I'll give you another little bit to put those in there. Yeah, Steve, the 3-2-1 Brave is great. One thing I didn't mention, there is a workbook that goes along with the program for athletes. Some coaches like send it to FedEx and have it printed for their athletes. I actually have never done that. So I just tell them, well, actually, it's cheaper for me to just buy them like composition notebooks. And so I give every athlete a composition notebook in my program, and then they follow along in that notebook. So that made me think 3-2-1 Brave, they need a notebook to be able to do 3-2-1 Brave. Yeah. Throw in another workbook there. The playbooks, though, that's different. The playbooks are great because those are just my swipe files. So it tells you how to implement all the things that we talked about this week and then just, what we've already touched on, but also just gives you my swipe templates for everything. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, the thumb exercise. Your players are gonna love that one too. They're like, what? Okay. Abby, I think we're ready to pick a winner. Okay, well, Abby, Amy is already in Plug and Play Elite Mental Game. So let's pick somebody new. But Amy, it looks like your name was drawn from the circle. But she Amy's been in plug and play for a couple years now. Okay, thank you, Amy. That is random though. Yeah, Amy is she's a lucky gal. Oh, no problem. Carlton. Yeah, yeah, go buy a lottery ticket, Amy. Carlton, you are our plug and play winner. So our team will reach out to you for access to that. For everyone else, couple of things. Yeah, yay, Carlton. Email us if you are like chatting, if you are like, we need to pay with a purchase order, just email us. Monday is your last day to get the discount and the bonuses that we talked about today. Today is your last day to grab the fast action bonus of the Rise Above Teammate Drama and Thrive Under Challenging Coaches Trading Bundle. And I will see hopefully most of you at 12 Pacific for our visualization. All right, everyone. Oh, I forgot your action for today is when this posts, you can, I believe it is posting, you already kind of did it in the chat, but posting your biggest takeaway from today's challenge all around, or today's training all around the mental game. So again, my favorite topic of, of the whole thing. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. I will see you later today. Bye.